Hello there and welcome to the 2025 Lomax Movie Awards. My response to the Oscars, I guess, just the fact that I rarely agree with the Oscars. Decided I wanted to do my own version of that really. These are my choices, my picks for nominees and my personal favourites in regards to what I would choose as the winners. I've got 14 categories, as I usually have. I normally do a nominations video followed up like a week later by a winners video, but I put a poll out recently on my channel asking you guys if you would like me to carry on doing that or whether you'd like me to do it all in the one video, and you chose for the one video. So that's what I'm going to do, one video. I'm going to give you a particular category, I'm going to give you the nominations in that category followed by the winner of that category until we get, of course, to the inevitable best picture. With that in mind, let's get on with it with the first category of 14, and that category is Best Production Design. The nominees for this category are Arthur Max for Gladiator 2, Colin Gibson for Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, Craig Lathrop for Nosferatu, Daniel T. Dorrance for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Patrice Vermette for Dune Part 2. And the winner for Best Production Design is Craig Lathrop for Nosferatu. Next up is Best Editing, and the nominees in this category are Joe Walker for Dune Part 2, Louise Ford for Nosferatu, Jake Roberts for Civil War, Elliot Knappman and Margaret Sixel for Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, and Chris Gill, Tim Murrell, Kazra Razalzadeh and David Jankso for Monkey Man. And the winner for Best Editing is Louise Ford for Nosferatu. Once again, Nosferatu, that's two categories in and 2 wins for Nosferatu, which just goes to show something, because I didn't really like Nosferatu. Overall, the overall package, I wasn't that sold on it. In the end, just because of how it made me feel, just because of my inability really to relate to much of what was in it, I only gave that film a 3 stars, and that was tentative at best. And yet, what doing an award show like this kind of shows is that sometimes a film isn't necessarily the sum of its parts. There's a lot of things from a technical craft level in Nosferatu that are just sublime, that are absolutely brilliant. And it's doing like an award show like this that kind of shows that points that out. Whereas if I did, a top 10 or a top 20 or even a top 30 movies of 2024, Nosferatu isn't going to be in there. So yeah, interesting. Next up is Best Costume Design, and the nominees for Best Costume Design are Jacqueline West for Dune Part 2, Janty Yates and David Crossman for Gladiator 2, Jenny Bevan for Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, Lulu Bontemps for the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, and Linda Moore for Nosferatu. And the winner for Best Costume Design is Janty Yates and David Crossman for Gladiator 2. Next up is Best Cinematography, and the nominees are Greig Fraser for Dune Part 2, Jarin Blaschke for Nosferatu, John Mathewson for Gladiator 2, Lawrence Sher for Joker Folie à Deux, and Rob Hardy for Civil War. And the winner for Best Cinematography is Greig Fraser for Dune Part 2. Once again there, very stiff competition from Nosferatu, must be said. Beautiful cinematography in Nosferatu, but just pipped to the post there by Greig Fraser. The next category is Best Original Score, and the nominees for this category are Anne Nikitin and Hannah Peel for Scoop, Dominic Lewis for The Fall Guy, Hans Zimmer for Dune Part 2, Jed Kurzel for Monkey Man, and Volker Bertelmann for Conclave. And the winner for Best Original Score is Hans Zimmer for Dune Part 2. Yeah, I was quite appalled by the fact that Zimmer wasn't even nominated this time around at the Oscars for Best Score. That was because of one of the ridiculous rules that the Oscars, that the Academy has in place, where you can't use music from a previous movie in a sequel, but this isn't actually a sequel. It's the second part of one larger film. So as Hans Zimmer himself recently stated, you wouldn't use completely different character themes for the second half of a movie. If you're watching a movie and all the character themes just suddenly change, that doesn't make sense. And this is the second part of a larger movie. Now with the next Dune film, Messiah, I would imagine different themes will come into play there. So yeah, it boggles my mind, to be honest, the rules that the Oscars have and how they come into play sometimes. It just makes no sense. But there you go. He wasn't eligible for the Oscars. I don't have the same rules as they do. My rules differ somewhat. It's a kick-ass score. It's the best score of the year. I listened to it quite a lot, must be said. Next category is Best Animated Film, and the 5 nominees for this category are Despicable Me 4, Inside Out 2, The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, Moana 2, and The Wild Robot. And the winner of this category is The Wild Robot. Not a particularly great year for animated movies, I would say, at least of the ones I saw, at least like of the American variety. I'm sure there'd be plenty of people out there who'd be more than willing to correct me on this one. Animation kind of fanatics and whatnot. But as I say, from what I saw, big hitters as well from, like Moana, my favourite animated movie of all time. Well, my favourite Disney animated movie of all time, that is. Was really excited for the sequel and felt quite let down by it. Again, Inside Out 2, similar kind of feeling there, really. So yeah, quite a disappointing year, I would say. But The Wild Robot, I would say, was the clear standout in that. Went to see that with my kids, and we all 3 of us, absolutely enjoyed it. Yeah, definitely a clear winner. The next category is Best Supporting Actress, and the 5 nominees for this category are Alicia Weir for Abigail, Connie Nielsen for Gladiator 2, Gillian Anderson for Scoop, Jenna Ortega for Beetlejuice, and Rebecca Ferguson for Dune Part 2. And the winner of Best Supporting Actress is Alicia Weir for Abigail. Yeah, really great performance from... mustn't forget how young she is as an actress, and yet she's playing alongside adults in a horror movie where she's really having to push the boundaries of what a child should be doing, or someone of that age at any rate should be doing, and yet just nails it. So yeah, again, as with Nosferatu, Abigail, not one of my favourite movies of the year. I did really like it, I really enjoyed it, but just in terms of certain aspects of it that are really strong that it has to offer, that performance there from Abigail Weir, and across the board, to be honest, all the actors in that did a pretty great job. I think it's one of the stronger aspects of that movie. Next up is Best Supporting Actor, and the nominees for this category are Bill Skarsgård for Nosferatu, Brendan Gleeson for Joker, Folie à Deux, Denzel Washington for Gladiator 2, Lucian Mazzamati for Conclave, and Tom Hardy for The Bike Riders. And the winner of Best Supporting Actor is Lucian Mazzamati for Conclave. The very definition of supporting actor, I would say. Not a right lot of screen time for Mazzamati in the film, but what screen time he gets, he makes quite an impact with. His character arc in the film, as I say, it's quite a small one. It does have quite an emotional impact on me. It's one of the more emotional aspects, I would say, of the film that hit me. Next up is the award for Best Actress, and the 5 nominees are Amy Adams for Night Bitch, Jodie Comer for The Bike Riders, Lady Gaga for Joker, Folie à Deux, Mia Goth for Maxine, and Naomi Scott for Smile 2. And the winner of Best Actress goes to, shocker, Amy Adams for Night Bitch. A highly underrated film in general, I would say. It was a film I was quite looking forward to, obviously being such an Amy Adams fan. Call me a fanboy if you like. I watched this film. I really liked it. I found it to be quite an emotional movie. I could relate to it quite a lot as a stay-at-home dad. I know it's told from the woman's perspective. It's told from the mother's perspective. But as a dad who stays at home, I could relate quite a lot to the character's journey and a lot of the things that were being said in the film. And I thought Adams gave, well, the best performance of the year, clearly. Next up is Best Actor, and the nominees for this category are Dev Patel for Monkey Man, Hugh Jackman for Deadpool and Wolverine, Joaquin Phoenix for Joker, Folie à Deux, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, and Timothée Chalamet for Dune Part 2. And the winner of Best Actor goes to Joaquin Phoenix for Joker, Folie à Deux. Controversial choice, I'm sure, for many, given that the film was pretty much lambasted across the board last year. Not by myself, of course. I actually really like Joker, Folie à Deux. I think it was very unfairly maligned. And I think Joaquin Phoenix gives just as good a performance as he did in the first film, which was, you know, a phenomenal performance, an Oscar-winning performance. And yeah, irrespective of whether you like the film or not, I'm sure you could agree that it was still a tremendous performance, given that it was a carrying over from what he did in the first film. So yeah, for me, still the best performance of the year. We're into the screenplay categories now, and the first one is Best Adapted Screenplay, and the nominees for Best Adapted Screenplay are Amanda Silver, Rick Jaffa and Josh Friedman for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Denis Villeneuve and John Spates for Dune Part 2, Drew Pearce for The Fall Guy, Glenn Powell and Richard Linklater for Hitman, and Scott Silver and Todd Phillips for Joker Folie à Deux. And the winner of Best Adapted Screenplay is Denis Villeneuve and John Spates for Dune Part 2. Yeah, phenomenal adaptation from a book that is arguably, you know, or was arguably for the longest time, one of those unfilmable books. And I think David Lynch's movie went some way to proving that, to be quite honest. So yeah, to take that hefty book and do what Villeneuve has done, adapting it for these two movies and doing a phenomenal job with it, definitely a worthy winner. Next up is Best Original Screenplay, and the nominees are Alex Garland for Civil War, Dev Patel, Paul Angunawala and John Colley for Monkey Man, George Miller and Nico Lathoris for Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, Jeremy Saulnier for Rebel Ridge, and John Krasinski for If. And the winner for Best Original Screenplay is Alex Garland for Civil War. Yeah, phenomenal look there from Alex Garland at the role that the media plays, the responsibility that the media has in reporting the news, how far they should go, and yeah, just great movie, great screenplay, fantastic job. Next up is the category of Best Director, and the 5 nominees for Best Director are Alex Garland for Civil War, Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2, Dev Patel for Monkey Man, George Miller for Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, and Todd Phillips for Joker Folie à Deux. I'm sure that last nominee there raises some eyebrows, but that's why this is my awards show and not yours. Anyway, the winner of Best Director goes to Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2. Yes, that's right, Denis Villeneuve, who wasn't even nominated at this year's Oscars, which is an absolute travesty, quite frankly. How he was not nominated, and yet the director of Emilia Perez was, boggles my brain. That will forever boggle my brain, quite frankly. Pathetic, pathetic. But yeah, Denis Villeneuve, Best Director, clear winner as far as I'm concerned. Which brings us, of course, to the final category, in which there are 10 nominees, and that is Best Film. And the 10 nominees for Best Film are Alien Romulus, Civil War, Deadpool and Wolverine, Dune Part 2, The Fall Guy, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, Gladiator 2, Joker, Folie à Deux, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and Rebel Ridge. And the winner of Best Film released in 2024 is Dune Part 2. Of course it's Dune Part 2. Yeah, absolutely phenomenal movie, brilliantly directed, beautifully shot, just an absolute work of art, a masterclass in filmmaking on every front. Yeah, there was, quite frankly, there was no other movie this year that came close to knocking this off the #1 spot. So yeah, there you go. Dune Part 2, very clear winner for Best Movie, but what about you guys? You know, these were my nominations, my winners. What would yours have been? You don't have to give me all your nominees or anything, but let me know, you know, even if it's just your favourite categories, whatever, who would have been your choices? Who would be your ultimate choice for the winner in each of these categories? Which one of these do you agree with? Which ones do you disagree with? Yeah, leave your comments down in the comments section below. Let me know your thoughts on this year's nominees and winners. Thank you for watching this video, and until next time, cracking.